Yeah, but I realised, wait a minute, I've never been normal. And I'm glad at that.
When you put yourself out there, put a part of your soul out there to others, it feels wrong almost.
Everyone goes through life different, and all experiences shape us different. But then you come out with something else, and someone says words or a quote or a phrase that dances with that because their life's been completely different. But it dances with your words, and you're like, yes!
Hello, welcome to
Hello.
episode 1 of the Early Bird and Night Owl podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Scott.
The lovely Scott came up with this title, Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet. We love talking about spirituality. I think we've spent hours and hours talking about the ways of life and what happens and where life takes you. I'm currently in New Zealand and Scott's back in Scotland still, so we thought what better way to bridge the literal day and night of the globe, being across the globe, than to just do it as a podcast.
And now, due to the wonders of technology, we get to continue this.
Exactly. Quite amazing. With, I think, is it 13 hours difference? 13 hours time difference in different
I
days,
only learned,
literally.
I only just learned that.
It's Monday morning for me and Sunday night for you, Scott.
Yep.
In this episode, we thought we'll chat a bit about spirituality, what it means to us, and why it sometimes feels like coming out of the closet. You described that quite well the other day, Scott. What did you mean by that?
Coming out of the spiritual closet for myself it was like being true to yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean you go to church and you're religious, yeah, or it doesn't mean like you practice one certain thing. I feel spirituality is returning to oneself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that's
Yeah.
within. And maybe sometimes that closet could maybe be explained as in a mask, the mask that you wear for the outside world. Or it could be explained as walking about unmasked and being true to oneself. Yeah, and not being afraid to have these conversations at the same time as well. It lifts the veil because you're being true and original to yourself and your soul. So, so also lifting the mask, it's also lifting the weight.
Mm, yeah. Seeing, I think some of it is seeing the little things in life and seeing the bigger picture, how you interact with other people. And I feel like it's, in a way, it's how a way of behaving in society as well. I guess, like you said, you take a mask off and you maybe take a step back and think about other people in a different light than you would otherwise. Kind of tune yourself into the little things that happen in life and why things happen the way they do and how to how to process life, I guess. I feel like it gives a framework for that as well.
Yeah. It's taking the moment to appreciate all the things in life. I mean, how many people in their everyday life actually stop, just take in their surroundings and see every wee interaction that's happening round about them? Because we're so laser focused on where we're going or what's meant to be happening there and then, we're actually blinded to our surroundings.
Mm.
Yeah, I think again, it's like if you were to take a moment and look about, a lot of people would go, "Oh, I don't want to do that." People think I'm weird because I'm taking in the moment and I'm not walking down the street like a soldier doing what everybody else does. I'd say coming out of the spiritual closet, it would also be not being afraid to stand out and be different from the crowd.
Yeah,
Yet the person who stands out and is different from the crowd will actually see more.
yeah. Do you feel like you've ever been judged for talking about spiritual stuff? I feel like we've had a few quite interesting conversations where maybe someone would have walked in and tried to join in and thought, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Oh, Definitely, mid conversation, if they were to walk in and be like, "Whoa, did I just is that Scott and Emily, or who are these two people?" Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at first when people they hear these conversations, straight away they go to a place of judgment.
Mm.
But if they took a moment to sit and listen, there would be something that they'd identified with, or something they've always identified with or wanted to talk about. But due to the reinforcement or the conforming of normal way of thinking, you don't voice these things.
You create a space for other people to express themselves as well. It frees other people around you if you're free to express yourself.
I'll give you a great example there. Anytime I'm in a meeting at work and there's something I don't understand, I'll be the first person to put my hand up and say, "Excuse me, can you explain that?" But the thing is, I see it in a lot of other people's faces. They didn't quite get that, but they're kind of scared to be vulnerable and say, "Can you explain that, please?" Yet the beauty of being that person to stand up and say what you're thinking, or can you help me understand that better? You encourage other people to ask questions, and when we ask questions, we all learn, and therefore as well, it's like that first wave that comes through the ripples. It makes way for all the other waves to ask these questions or to express themselves.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Thank you.
How did you start connecting with your own spirituality, do you think? When did that start for you? How did it start for you?
It was always there,
Hmm.
and it's as much as reconnecting with it. Yeah, I believe we're all born spiritually. We're all souls. We all have a soul. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
as much as reconnecting with who you were while using that wisdom. So the more I reconnected, the less uncomfortable it felt as I was reconnecting with my spirituality. Because the big world out there would say you're not meant to be this way, and you're not meant to talk that way, or you're meant to act this way. You're meant to conform.
Mm.
And at first, when I was reconnecting with my spirituality, it felt like not that I'd done something wrong. It was more I'm doing something that's not the norm. But I realised, wait a minute, I've never been normal, and I'm glad at that. I've got neurodiversity. I'm my own special person, my own unique way. And every time in life I tried to be normal or follow the herd or follow the path or whatever normal is, my life went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So just being true to yourself, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, I'd very much say a lot of spirituality is remaining true to yourself.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, when you're being false to yourself, or you're not being as one is, or you're not remaining true to yourself, the world maybe not know, but you know. Your soul knows. The person who you look in the mirror, they know. And again, the beauty of that is you remove all that weight. So when you're being original to yourself, you're not walking away from conversations or interactions going, "Oh, damn it, I wished I'd said that," or "I wish I'd said that." And when you've got a spiritual, when you're remaining true to yourself and you're spiritual, you're not going to say anything that hurts anyone's feelings because like, spirituality has its consciousness, which is awareness. I mean, your awareness, you're aware of your feelings, but you're aware of your surroundings. So naturally, you're not going to be offensive towards anyone or hurt anyone.
Mm. Mm.
Does that resonate?
I guess it goes with the whole expression. Um, if you're true to yourself, you encourage other people around you to be their true self as well, or as true to themselves as they
Mm.
can be in that moment. Maybe it always depends on the the interaction that you're having as well, and where that space is, and if you feel comfortable in that space, not just with the person, but where you are as well. I guess that all depends, but if that all fits, then you can have really open conversations that, yeah, like you said, don't cause don't really cause any harm or friction because you're just going with the flow, I guess.
And when you remain true to yourself and you're going with the flow, and you find yourself in a place of spiritual healing and or returning to how you always felt deep inside. That spiritual healing creates like dropping a pebble, and it creates a positive ripple effect. And spiritual healing, at its core, can lead other people to a place where they can get to a place of healing.
Yeah,
And as far as I know, our religions teach know thyself, and to know thyself is to be true to thyself. So when all the religions agree upon something, there must be truth in it.
yeah, definitely. They don't agree on a lot of things, so
No, they don't. But when they all agree on something,
yeah.
it tells you there's something in there that should make it stand out and for you to pay attention to it.
An example that you mention a lot that kind of ties into what you were just saying about people and how it works right now don't connect with themselves and who they are in reality, I guess, in a sense, because we have all of these virtual reality and AI and everything nowadays kind of serves to distort reality, really. Um, an ancient principle that you've brought up quite a few times in our conversations is Plato's cave, and how
Yeah,
that is an allegory that has been used many times in history, and it's over 2,000 years old now, and it still holds relevance today to how we can understand the world. So, do you want to give your quick version of Plato's cave?
Plato's cave, the analogy of the cave, was written 2,400 years ago. Yet it's never been more relevant or holds more power than it does, than I'd say in today's day and age. So the story of Plato's cave is there's people who were born in a cave, never been outside the cave, and they're chained up facing a wall, and there's people outside the cave walking past, and they're getting big lights, and through the lights are shining shadows on the wall where the people chained up are facing, and they're showing them what they want them to see. People chained up have no idea what's going on in the big world of. They've never seen the sun, they've never seen the ocean. All they're ever seen is the shadows that the puppeteers are putting up on the wall. And to them, that's reality. It's all they've ever seen, it's all they've ever believed. But then one day, one of the people up in the chained up manages to escape. How he escaped, we don't know. But he gets out of the cave. For the first time in his life, there's a light and it's blinding. It's like, he doesn't know where to look, and all his senses are coming back, and he finds a river, and he's seen the green of the fields, and all this colour and wonder. It's not all shadows, he's always seen. It's bright, and I'd imagine if I was him, or anyone was him, it would have been so overwhelming to see actually reality for what it was. And he goes back to the cave, and he's wanting to go and say to other people, look, I'm alive. First, I'm alive. I'm still here. But there's a real big world out there, and it's full of awe and wonder. And there's a big ball of sun in the sky, and there's this blue thing, and they call it an ocean. And there's hills that got them doing. And I didn't see all these monsters that were on the wall. And the other people in the up who were still chained up, they thought he was mad. They didn't want to be saved. They were actually quite happy to carry on being chained, looking up at the shadows in the wall. And my mind always goes to Plato wrote that 2,400 years ago. Now, for me, these shadows and the puppeteers is the TVs that we watch and social media, and in this day and age, there's kids with mobile phones and laptops. They've probably seen their technology more than they have been outside in the big world.
Yeah.
So they're identifying, we become what we think, we become what we watch. So they're watching everything on these machines and that. Just like the people chained up are actually watching all these shadows and it's all they've ever known. But when they hear about reality, they don't want to accept it
Mm.
because their mind's been programmed that long. Their reality is what's right in front of them, never to know what's behind them or what's around them. And so, just maybe coming back to the spiritual closet, by coming out the cave, the person who was set free, come out the spiritual closet, when going out to the world was him being himself in front of all the world.
Mm.
And when he
Yeah.
went back, it's to free the other people. Is that maybe what someone who's spiritual sounds like when they're talking to someone who's never looked within?
Yeah, I think so.
You can't put spirituality in a bottle. You
No.
can't define it.
Think of all of the authors that have changed the world or impacted it, like these people who you talk about, even people that you talk about 100 years later or 200 years later. They're all thinkers that have clearly resonated with humanity in that sense because it's survived social trends and different ways society works. They have outlived that, so clearly they resonate with something really deep that most people connect to.
Survives the test of time. It goes above and beyond all that time. And I'd imagine in another 100 years, we'll still be talking about all these people. Yet they had to be brave.
Yeah, yeah. They had to come out of the closet and show themselves to the world.
Yeah, and it's again, it's another. As a writer, when I first brought my writing out to the big world, that felt just the same. The very first piece of writing that I wrote, and I went out and shared it, I almost felt like I've done something wrong.
Mm,
I was sharing a part of my soul to the world. I was letting the world see who I was. It felt new, it felt daunting. I had to be brave, and I had no idea at that moment in time how many people I would inspire with my writings. And all that belonged between my ears and my head. Maybe when we've got a gift and we put it out to the world and it inspires, that is part of the goal of life. It's for no matter how you look at it, it's all creation. We're all here to create something. And I don't think we can hold on to that, nor should we hold on to that. Yeah, it's like if we've got a talent, or if we've got something that's going to positively influence the world, we should put it out there. And I'm
yeah,
speaking to a director as I am saying this. It's someone who makes magic and puts it out there in the world. So do you resonate with that?
yeah. I think, I think, I think it makes it whatever you create actually improves when you share it with people. I mean, I think I've noticed that especially. I've noticed that whenever I've created anything, but I think especially something that's quite vulnerable, whether it's about myself or someone else. I think reflecting on it, but then bringing it to other people and bringing it to the world when it's ready, I think really improves whatever you're putting out there. I think it always adds something because that's why I think collaboration works. If you have really good close collaboration and people like when we started writing poems together and it just when there's no judgment and you're just on the same page, literally and figuratively. You're sitting on the same page and you're having not the same thoughts because that would defeat the purpose, but you're having thoughts that go in the same direction maybe, and you're collaborating on something. It always feels it always I think it always feels more successful than if you do something on your own. I think I think things are, like you said, things are meant to be shared, and even if it's something that comes from deep inside of you, if you share that with someone else or as many people as you want to share it with, then it actually becomes more powerful than if you just keep it to yourself.
1,000,000%. And it's like when you're collaborating, it's it's almost like the words. Everyone goes through life different, and all experiences shape is different. So you'll be going to your toolbox, all your words and experiences, emotions, and you think it's just you. But then you come out with something else, and someone says words or a quote or a phrase that dances with that because their life's been completely different. But it dances with your words, and you're like, yes. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way one individual could have come up with that because that would have been an individual poem.
mm,
But
mm,
when it's basically it's life, innit? It's like two different lives, two different people, but they're telling the same story and their words are dancing.
yeah,
If you research spiritual awakening and enlightenment, people imagine it as all love and they picture Buddhas or they picture Hare Krishnas or they picture someone sitting on top of a mountain watching a rainbow. Yeah,
mm, yeah,
but I'd say it'd be spirituality is that awakening is all aspects of life. So as you're unpacking everything, you're going through so much all at the same time. So when someone's having a spiritual awakening, or what is known as a spiritual awakening, it's seen as loss of identity because your ego's always told you that's who you are. This is why I refer to more as it's a spiritual reconnection or returning to who you always were or who are you meant to be.
mm. I guess that's why it feels so scary. I mean, you were saying that when you put yourself out there, put a part of your soul out there to others, it feels wrong almost. I guess that's that connection to the ego and to your past self or to your current self and how they just don't quite match and it feels it's like sort of a grating feeling, like you don't know something different automatically feels wrong if that's what you're used to. You're used to one thing, you know?
And I'd say to take away the pain of whatever the ego is inflicted because it's that's coming from the brain and it's going to tell you you're wrong all the time. It's bringing yourself down from here to speak from here, your heart.
Mm,
And the heart's a gentler place, the mind's more computeristic, isn't it?
yeah,
It's more of a program, as they would say. So that's your subconscious. That'd be a
yeah.
conversation for another podcast. Yeah, yeah. Our
Yeah.
subconscious is 95% of programming what life has told us.
Mm. Which we also need. I mean, we can't live our lives only with our heart and soul either. Then I think, you know, there's a reason the brain is there and there's a reason we have patterns in which we think and how we process things because that's just how we have to live life. But I guess the point is to not only live by that and be stuck in the box of the kind of logical, I need to do this, this, this. This is when I do this, this happens. Instead, just sometimes letting go of that and just letting yourself flow where you need to and feel what you need to feel and be in tune with all parts of yourself. I guess that's the point. You know, you don't want to lose your logical thinking and your ability to make decisions and process things. I mean, I think that's more in your subconscious still. But
Yeah, it's it's more like all these experiences and who we are and what life has taught us. I see that as the toolboxes of life, and it's knowing what tools to use, what tools are your strengths in any given situation,
mm,
and what life teaches is relatability. You know, because someone's going through something that you can relate to because you've walked that path. Well, I'm certainly going to use that tool to empathise with that person or sympathise with that person and maybe say, well, this is how I tackled that. So the subconscious is just as beautiful as every other part of our brain.
yeah,
Once we get good at navigating what doorways to open and what pathways to use.
yeah, yeah. Always have such a smooth way of summarizing everything.
Thank you. Trust me, a lot of trial and error, and I went to the school of hard knocks of life. I was a good learner.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a great note to end on. Um, and I think I'll definitely put the links and the interesting stuff that we talked about, some little videos in the end of the podcast as well, if anyone's interested. I think it helps to see it
Look
as
up,
well. Huh?
yeah, watch videos on Plato's cave.
Yeah. I'll link some in the caption of the episode as well. Any final words, Scott, for the episode 1 of Early Bird Night Owl, coming out of the spiritual closet?
I'd say be true to yourself to know thyself. And thanks for taking the time to watch this.
Thank you very much for listening, and hear from you next week. Bye. Do we wave? Do we do like a bye, or what's that outro? I haven't thought of that.
I hadn't thought of it. It needs to be something regarding a night owl and an early bird.
What's the? Do we wave in different ways, or something?
Aye. Like a bird.
How do
A
you do
shadow,
that?
you ever done finger puppets, hand puppets, and the shadows in the wall? Did you ever do
Is that
hand
our
puppets and
outro?
finger puppets? Nah,
I guess that's a. What would
how's
the
it
owl
going?
look like? Did you do the owl look different?
And I would be sitting in a tree. Right, okay, so I will research shadow puppets and owls for next week.